My dad told me that he accidentally had sex with a woman that he thought was mom, and this woman snuck into my mom's room while it was dark and she had sex with my dad, and she had a son that he didn't know about, and he still looks like Jared Leto. And Harley Quinn said he's handsome, and I frowned at Harley and I said, okay, so how are we going to deal with this? He's done terrible things, Dad. And Thomas said, I can't kill him, I had him and I was about to end his life, and then he told me the truth that I'm his father, and he mentioned his mother's name, and then I said, Dad, you don't actually believe him, do you? And then Dad handed me a file with a DNA test and everything, and it all came back 100% match for my brother. And Thomas said, DNA doesn't lie, boy, I was about to kill him, but when I found out that he's my son I couldn't do it. His mother was mentally disturbed, it's not his fault for what he is. And I said, you can't be serious, of course it's his fault, he killed those people because he enjoyed it, and I feel the same thing when I killed bad people, Dad. If it comes down to it I will kill him if I have to, I'm sorry, he's a monster, I can't spare his life. And Thomas said, I knew you were going to say that, but before you kill him will you at least try to talk some sense into him, it might help. And I said, yes it could, but I doubt it. I tried to help someone evil once and they decided to kill the ones they loved just to show me they have no weakness. I learned that lesson from Ra's al Ghul. He didn't care about anyone but his own ambition. That's the Joker. My brother is dead, father. And Thomas said, no he's not, your brother is in that clown somewhere and his name is Damian Wayne, he's your older half brother. And then Harley Quinn giggled cutely and said, your older brother is a clown, that's so funny, and you married a clown. And I said, Harley, it's not funny, he's my brother. And Harley asked, wait, why were you at an insane asylum, Mr. Wayne? And my dad said, because I was staying with his mother, she has some mental health issues. Wait, what kinds of mental issues? And my dad said severe bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. And then Harley's mouth opened wide and then I closed her mouth for her and I said, what, Harley? And she said, it's kinda hot actually, I really was probably treating you and you probably had undiagnosed mental health issues. And then Harley Quinn giggled and said, hey Mr. Wayne, do you have a thing for crazy ladies? And I said, Harley, that's mean. And then Dad said, maybe I do, so what? And then I said, Dad, and then Dad said, it seems to run in the family I guess. And then Dad started laughing and then my mouth dropped open and then Harley Quinn closed it. Oh Puddin', okay, glad you all had some fun. And then Thomas said, fun, hell, I was being serious, kid. And then I said, I am not insane, I don't have any mental health issues. And then Thomas said, have you ever been tested for it by a psychiatrist? And I said, yes. And then Harley Quinn said, yes, he's not insane and he showed no signs of schizophrenia, although I have to admit it's weird when Bruce wears that bat suit, it's like he becomes a completely different person, he even changes his voice. And Thomas Wayne laughed and said, I know, right? And I just stood there with a deadpan expression. The both of you do know that I am Rao and Bruce Wayne combined, so I basically am two beings in one, so that's not really funny. And Thomas said, oh my god, he has a point, sorry son. And then I started laughing and then Harley Quinn started laughing and Mom was standing right behind him the whole time and she smacked him in the back of the head, and then me and Harley Quinn laughed harder and then Mom said silence, and then me and Harley Quinn stopped laughing immediately. And I said, okay Mom, so what's up? And then Mom said, you don't need to kill your brother, you're powerful enough, Bruce, just send him to prison. And I said, but Mom, what if he tries to kill more innocent people? And then she said, no matter, just put him in prison. And I said, I guess I can do that this time, I will make an exception for family this time I suppose. And then Dad told me where he's hiding out at, and then me and Harley Quinn went and spied on him. And then Harley said he looks so weird with that slicked back green hair, and she said, I still can't believe he's your brother, but like I said, he's handsome for a clown. And I said, I keep thinking lately, if I didn't have a mother and father that truly loved me, would I have ended up like him? I probably would have been just like him if the roles were reversed. And then Harley asked, are you going to kill him? And I said, no, I don't know, I'm a little conflicted about it, it's weird, the whole thing has got me thinking a lot about the past lately. I've been thinking about using the Dragon Balls on him, maybe it might cure him, Harley, that's what I'm hoping anyway. And Harley said, oh yeah, I almost forgot about those Dragon Balls, you're right, that definitely could work.